Welcome back to Drumcast TV for November 12th, 2011. My name's Darren Mathis. Glad you could tune in. Today we're going to be talking about hi-hats and resonant drum heads. Okay, I received two voicemail messages, one about keeping your hi-hat up to par even with a knee injury from Geno, and then one from David about asking about how often you should change your resonant or the bottom drum head. So let's go ahead and listen to that one from Geno first.
Hi, my name is Geno and I'm calling from North Carolina. I think you do some great work. Thank you so much. My question is, I'm a new drummer and I'm trying to get into new techniques. But I suffered a very bad knee injury many years ago, and I'm having problems with my hi-hat. Do you have any suggestions that I can get my left leg, maybe not strong, but a little bit more up to par where I could handle that hi-hat?
Hey Geno, thanks for that voicemail message. As far as the hi-hat goes and getting it up to par, with a knee injury, I'm guessing you don't want to be slamming your leg down on the hi-hat very hard because you could re-injure it or cause yourself pain. So what I would suggest with a hi-hat is get a decent one that has an adjustment to it, spring adjustment. Like this one I have is a DW9000. It has a built-in spring adjustment where you can adjust the tension that it takes to push down on the pedal. So what I would do is adjust it so that you don't have to exert much effort to push down on the hi-hat. And also one thing you might want to do too is get some pretty heavy hi-hat cymbals so that you don't have to push down or you don't have to clamp down on the hi-hat to get a loud chuck sound or a loud sound out of the hi-hat. These here are new beat hi-hats, 14-inch Zildjian, and they're pretty loud, but I also stomp on the pedal pretty loud too. So I've got the adjustment of the pedal or the spring in the hi-hat stand, so it kind of floats pretty lightly, so I don't need a lot of force to come down on it, and that way I'm able to do like this type of thing for a long time without getting tired. And that comes in handy if I want to, you know, do this type of thing on the hi-hat. Keep it going, keep a beat while I'm doing some fills or solos around the kit. So those are a couple suggestions just right off the top of my head. Go with heavy hi-hats that don't require a lot of force to get a loud sound. Otherwise you're really going to have to stomp. With a lighter hi-hat, you'll have to stomp harder to get as much volume. So something like the top new beat or new beat hi-hats are good. I've also heard like a Z Zildjian or a K or something heavier like that. A combination of the two would work well. You just go if you have a local music shop, lots of times they'll just let you try out different combinations. You don't always have to get a set of hi-hats either. You can mix and match. That might have to be a special order. Like I know a guy who had a combination of a Z Zildjian on the bottom and a K on top, 14-inch, and it sounded great. And then my other suggestion is to get a decent hi-hat stand that has a spring adjustment. For instance, this DW9000 does, and it's just kind of a knob or a wheel on it that you turn and you go in one direction. It tightens up the spring so it takes more force to push down, or you can go in the other direction and it takes less force. If you go all the way in the other direction where it takes less force, the weight of the cymbal might push the hi-hat closed too, so it's kind of a balance there you'll have to experiment with. So I hope that helps. Thanks again for your question, Geno.
Hey Darren, this is David Lopez. I'm out here in Northridge, California. I haven't really played too serious for about 15, 20 years, but in the past couple of years, after listening to your podcast and starting to play again, been really starting to get serious about playing. And before I would just play for fun, and as long as I could beat around the drums, I would have a good time. But in the past couple of years, I've been trying to get back into tuning and, put a little bit more money into the kit. This is a 1970s Flaring kit that I'm playing, and I've had it a long time, but when I got it in the 80s, I bought some pinstripe heads for the top and ebony heads for the bottom. Now, I know the pinstripe heads, after being so old, I know those are wore out, so I am changing those. But the ebony heads, the resin heads, had never been hit, had never been really over-tuned. So I know they're 20 years old, but do I need to change those resonant heads? I know definitely the batters, but just had a question and I want to know if you can help me with it. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey David, thanks for the question about resonant heads. So resonant heads are the drum heads that are on the bottom of the head. You don't hit them with a stick. David said that he's got heads on his kit that are about 20 years old or so. Wonder if he should change them since they haven't been struck and haven't been over-tuned, haven't been abused, as he mentioned. Well, there's no real set rule on that. One thing I might suggest, David, is just to experiment with one drum. Maybe buy one new resonant head for that and see if it makes a difference. Because, you know, if something's been sitting around, especially like this Mylar, most drum heads are made of Mylar. If that's been sitting around for 20 years, it could get a little less flexible, especially if it's susceptible to different humidities, temperatures over time. It's probably going to be less flexible, which leads to less vibration, less resonance in the drum itself. But it might actually cause an effect that you like out of the drum. So try a new head. Maybe you like the way the old head sounds for whatever reason. And of course, manufacturers change the way they manufacture drum heads over time, certainly in 20 years. I'm not sure, I think you said Remo Ebony, I'm not sure the history of that one, if it's changed much over the years. But the best thing to do, I would do, is just experiment and see which sound you like better. Like I said, you might even like the sound of the old heads better. So that is my advice to you. Thanks a lot for the question, David. Well, thanks again for tuning into this episode of Drumcast TV. If you have a question or comment, suggestion, want to leave a voicemail, just go to drumcast.tv and there's a 800 number on there you can call. In the meantime, keep practicing and God bless. Drum lesson video for the internet.